Hello, everybody! So, welcome to the brand new podcast, the 25th edition for CPL. How are you doing today, guys?
I'm doing great. This is Mr.
Uh,
Mysterious.
this is
Yeah?
King Louis the 14th. I'm doing dandy. I just have a we're sad to report that Sarnath will no longer be doing the podcast with us, but he will definitely be missed by me and all the fans and everybody. We had a good run, me and him, with 24 shows, and we wish him the best of. He's still in the CPF. I mean, he is in the TDF as far as I understand, right? He's in your clan, so he's
Yeah.
still active and he still will be streaming some things, but he's just
Oh,
not going to be doing the podcast anymore. So we wish him well in his future endeavors, and we will definitely miss him a lot.
that's for sure. And I think you will be missed a lot. Many people really like his streaming in general. But one thing I really like about Sarnit is he still streams around. He still casts some team games sometimes. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him still hopping in a podcast time to time as a guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be surprised.
So,
Yeah, he's always, of course, always welcome to come in, and we have the Sarnath Open coming up. It's going to the next 500 event coming up. It's going to
Yes, yes,
be
it's called.
like it's going to be like the CPL using his CPL Challenger maps, but so it's going to be the same settings except for it's going to be a mirror civs and a 120 turn timer, but no barbs or CS, and using his they're very good maps that he made. I think there's
I
about
played
12,
those, so I know I have a little bit of an advantage.
but that was back in December, so I don't
True.
think it's you didn't play all of them. I think there was about 12 maps
Yeah,
or
that's true.
9
I
or
played like second one.
well,
so yeah. But I mean, everybody is welcome to go. It's on Steamworks, so if you're going to play in that tournament, get on there and start checking the maps out.
yeah,
It's on Steamworks.
it's amazing
Yes.
maps, and today we actually will cover a lot of about this. But really quickly, I didn't get your name. Like I know you guys, but I know we went through it very fast. But I'm Auguthy. I'm just like a guest today, I guess, in hosting the show, and I'm with MysteriousX,
Hello.
and I'm with King Louis as well, which is the same as usual, right? The one and only we like all the time. And
Yeah,
today,
apparently apparently I'm the only King Louis the 14th in. Well, there can only be one, but I don't think there's even any other king. I saw a King Julian. There's a King Julian, I think, on
yeah,
the
there's a
CPL.
King Julian.
Yeah.
And today's a very special podcast because it's 25th one, so we have a lot of material to cover. And we also have so many new projects coming up with the ADCP. But what is the
Here we
ADCP,
go.
right? What
So
is it?
let's hand that over to Louis. What is it, Louis?
What is AIDS? Some people think it sounds like a disorder, and some people say I have a disorder. So maybe they're both right. But it stands. It's because it does kind of sound like OCD, ADCP. Like I got the ADCP. Oh, you got to take some medication for that.
It's
What's
like
the,
the
No,
what's the
ADCP
fear?
fever, right?
Yeah,
Fever.
I always say Ryan 7 has the ADCP fever of 103 because he's hot blooded. Doing some way back 70s music references now.
But what does it stand for? Like, what does it
So
mean?
it stands for the Association of Dual Civ Players. So it's it's like a circuit or a league, but we're part of the CPL. So you have to be in the CPL to be in the ADCP, and it's all about duels, of course. Hence the name,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
the D
tied into
part
the
of the.
CPL.
But yeah,
The same.
it's all duels. It's all based on, because I'm a huge tennis fan, so I base the system of rankings and tournaments on the actual men's pro tennis, and but we don't have as many players in it, so it's kind of like a 1/4 size men's pro tennis league, but we're playing Civ, and I like to delude myself that I will be the Roger Federer of the ADCP, even though I'm not exactly making it up quite as of yet.
Still some work to do, I guess.
You're gonna need a coach, aren't you?
Sometimes Federer didn't have coaches. There's been periods of his career where he doesn't. He currently does have coaches, so.
Yeah, he
Lots of
does.
things. The Civ is different.
And by the way, for all those viewers, CPL is an online community as well. So it's a community where we play Civilization 6 in multiplayer. So if you don't know about us, I'll post a link later today. But it's a very interesting community if you want to have a shot. And we have this whole principle of no quitting in our games, and we have a whole ranking system also, which basically makes it one of the best communities out there for Civilization 6 right now. And with the ADCP starting so far, right? We've got so many tournaments and so many high-profile players already starting. There's so many rumors right now, so many players talking about the emerging esports scene of Civilization 6. So I really
Yeah.
thought we should have a look at. What do you think about it, Mr. Six?
Well, esports in Civ 6, it's definitely probable when it comes to the spectator mod coming into Civ 6, which is actually whoever did that. Props to him props to him or her, because it really helps us casting and really allows esports to be a thing for Civ 6. But for ADCP, if we're talking about just for ADCP for esports, it's definitely plausible, even more so with ADCP, because it's more about duels in a tournament, more instead of a teamer or an FFA. While teamers could have a set team and they go through the tournament, that could work too. But there's more people, there's more factors in the time, so it's harder to set up. Whereas duels, you can just set it wherever them two are both available.
Yeah, I think duels are suited best to get Civ 6 into esports because it's just it's one-on-one and you can have the free-for-alls. I mean, you could do it, but it's gonna be a little more of a project to try to make a esports for free-for-alls. But they could do it. But
Well,
I think duels work well for esports.
I agree.
we do have some other tournaments going on sometime, like the Clan Championship Cup, right, or the CCC as we call it in CPL. So it's not the only thing happening, but this is probably the start and the best way to start the esport if there would be some for Civilization 6. And there's so many high players. Which player do you think is your favorite right now in the ADCP?
The MysteriousX.
Oh yeah, yourself.
He's right. Yeah, right. We have some top players. We have some top players playing. We got Task Force Fish is in it. We Animation. We got Harambe.
Task Force Fish, like the famous guide writer for Civilization 6. Automation, a very famous, strong player in most leagues, right? And we have but we have all sorts of people as well which actually we're slowly noticing the rankings going live because it's been going on for almost a month right now.
Yeah, I'm currently tabulating those, and so shortly after this podcast, I'll post the rankings as I'm posting because we have a bunch of tournaments that are still going on. So I'm just going to post the rankings as of what people have accumulated as of, even though the tournaments are not finished. It's just as of the posting what the rankings are.
Honestly, I think Louis is just slacking.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right now we have 4 tournaments. Louis was right. We have
No, I'm just joking.
and Louis is doing a lot of work, really. I think we should congratulate him on the work he's doing around CPL to make all those tournaments work.
I also want to mention, if we're mentioning Louis here, I also want to mention Yoshi.
Yoshi.
He's been done a lot, as much or equal, maybe a little bit more than King Louis, and he's not really been mentioned, so I'd like to mention him. He's done a lot of work, at least for technical and organizational work in CPL. And
I made a big point to thank Yoshi when I do a big post. But yeah, Yoshi's. I mean, you guys helped out too, of course, and Sarnath and some other people helped out. But Yoshi, helped me the most.
Well, right now,
of all the people, and continues to help me the most. Me and Yoshi are the I guess they're doing the most work ongoing with the ADCP too.
Well, right now I was looking at the Grand Slam, which is probably the biggest tournament. People who are looking at it the most right now. And we're slowly reaching the semifinals as well, right? Do you have any thoughts on the future matchups or the future players going in semifinals? I see that there's Task Force Fish, for example, who beat under 3-0 to get to semifinals, and you'll be facing either Harambe or Sky Cry, most probably.
Yeah, I expect Harambe to go through there, and I expect it looks like Animation has a nice.
I'm gonna say right now.
I mean, I think most likely Animation will be there waiting in the finals for either Task Force or Harambe. I would say right now.
I'm putting 100 $100 on Taskforce right now. He'll win the finals and the semifinals.
And some
Well,
underground betting markets.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there's also other good players. There's also like Mercy, which is still in the tournament, right? He's in the quarterfinals, playing against Luca Ninja, but he's a known duelist around, and like he's been playing a lot as well.
Yeah. I was
So
in the ADCB myself, and it was a quite experience. I mean, I didn't have the exact luckiest seat, but it was still fun because with duels you can do all these kind of cheesy things. Like for example, Tom Brader, I
yeah,
even got a losers victory, and kind of did a number on him. And it's not only domination. It's not only getting the science advantage, getting the military advantage on your opponent. You can, even if you don't have the best land, you don't have the best advantage, you don't have the city states, you can still pull through.
Yeah, it's
that's
just like tennis. The grand we have 4 Grand Slams every year. So this is the Australian Open. We have a French Open, the Wimbledon, and we have the U.S. Open, and they're all spread out throughout the year. So there will be a few more months before the next one, and they're all 3 out of 5. Each round is you have to win best 3 out of 5 to advance, and then all our other tournaments are 2 out of 3. But the Grand Slams are like special, so those are the 3 out of 5. So if you lose in those, like I did, you definitely lost. I mean, you lost 3 out of 5. We can't complain about that, right?
yeah,
Mm.
that is true. And what does
Speak.
it look like? Like, what are the settings for
Oh
this
yeah.
Grand Slam?
Yeah, I think because of RF, Rise and Fall is so new, we decided the best way to eliminate one, over OP thing is to just do mirror civs. That way you don't have to worry about because we don't even know these new expansion civs that well yet, and there's been a lot of changes for Rise and Fall. So at some point we'll probably will go off of the mirror concept, but at the beginning it's nice because then you can use any civ you want. People can use these banned civs, and it doesn't matter because the other guy's using the same civ. So that's kind of why we did it that way at the beginning. So it's mirror civs, it's a Pangea dual size map, I think New World, so it has a little more hills, and it's a 120 turn timer, which is I know a little fast for people, but I think people are getting used to it. I think mostly hearing people are. What do you guys think? You guys are okay with it? I think at first you probably think it's too fast, but I think people are getting used to it now.
I think from turn 1 to 40, maybe 50, it gets a little rough. I would maybe say it's advancing it to 135. That's just me, but that's something to consider.
Well, I think like people are also getting used to duels, right? Because duels, yeah, it's been around for a long time in CPL, but it has really didn't take off that quickly. Like it's been like for the first few months, it was only a few duels per week, and now we see duels like pretty much every day around the CPL. So like, as there's more duels played, you see more of those things coming in play, right? And as you were saying, I really like the how you mentioned the Regis victory before because duels really allow to go for victory conditions, which you
Mm.
don't always manage to do in big free for alls or big team games, right? Often, like after a couple hours, you're like, well, you're tired, you don't want to play anymore. But those duels are last much quicker.
It's one of the perks of having a duel. If you don't have time for a long FFA game, it'll say you only have 3-4 hours. You can play 1 or 2 duels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I always give a shout out and props to Sarnath because that was like that got the momentum for duels when he did that CPL Challenger duel tournament in December. That was a big momentum for duels, and that kind of I
Mm.
think the ADCP that helped get the momentum going for the ADCP to like emerge because that was like a big step in the right direction for
Calendar
duels.
series was very, very fun. I remember that back in December.
yeah, it was very
Yeah, we
fun.
both we both play. I think Auguthy couldn't. You had something came up
Yeah,
at the last minute, so you didn't play in it. But me and
me and Lou
MysteriousX
faced off.
both played in the CPL Challenger Series.
Yeah, I remember beating him mercilessly.
Well, it's hard to beat like King Louis, right? He's the master of religion. You have to be
I
very careful.
know.
Yeah, I did lose, but no, there was no. Yeah, these were, and that's coming. It's going to be the same settings for the Sarnath Open. It's going to be just like the CPL Challenger Series, like
Ah,
except for it's going to have a mirror and 120 turn timer, but it's going to have no barbs and no CS. So it just be for the purists out there who want it like to have the least randomness in a match. That this is the tournament for you because it's the maps are all I think he just loaded a bunch of random seeds, and he waited, and he found the ones that were like the most balanced, and those are his maps.
Well, no, he
They're
took those balanced ones, the most balanced ones, and he tweaked them a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Did he actually? Oh, he did some.
He,
He
yeah, he
actually
tweaked
did
them,
some. He did some editing on the maps too. I don't know all the details of what he.
Yeah,
Did
he
he
tried to
actually
edit
like?
a few. I think
yeah. He
he edited a
balanced out
few.
the luxuries and the strategics.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. So he didn't. Okay. So yeah, he took the random seeds, and he also did some editing on it. So yeah, they're very balanced maps. They're tiny. They're tiny in map size, and
So four player.
they're actually fractal. I'm sorry, they're not Pangea. It's a fractal. They're fractal tiny maps. So I like fractal because it gives you more opportunity to try to do some C attacks and things like that. So it's I like fractal maps are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fractal's maps are pretty fun. And didn't you choose Fractal map from one of those other tournaments going on? I know there's like
Yeah, I believe. I know the Credo is coming up. That's starting today or tomorrow. I know that's continents.
We haven't done a fractal map yet at the ADCP, but we will. Well, the Sarnath Open, like I said, is coming up. That's his maps. So those are obviously fractal maps. But that'll be the first. The next tournament we've got going is Quito, and that's going to be the first time we're doing a larger map. We're actually doing it on a small map, which is pretty big for duels, but it's a Ren start, so you already have the ability to hit the open seas and go find your opponent. So it's actually not going to be. It won't. I don't think it's going to take as long as people would think for a big map like that, because you are in Renaissance era.
that is true. But right now there's also like Acapulco, Sydney, Doha, right? Do you want to slip a small word about them? It's been going on for a while. I mean, Acapulco's in the finals right now. It's Dutch against Elite Fighter.
Oh, that's what we we actually have. See, the draws it's like a quarter size for the actual men's pro tennis tour. So our Grand Slams in like real men's pro tennis are 128 people, but in our league they're just 32, and then all the other tournaments are 8 people in a draw, except for our Master Series 1,000 events, which are 16. So these are most of these events that you're seeing are like little small 8-person draws, and I think we've made. Barcelona has not Barcelona. I mean, what am I saying? Acapulco, I don't think has really progressed any yet. I don't think any matches have been done there. And I think Sydney's maybe down to the semifinals, and
Yeah, semifinals for Sydney. And semifinals for the Doha as well.
yeah,
Or
those are littler tournament. Yeah, basically we have 4 tiers. We have like the Grand Slams, which are 2,000 points to the winner, and then the Master Series are 1,000 to the winner. And then there's 500 series ones and these 250. So these are 250 tournaments. The Quito coming up, and the Sydney and Acapulco is a 500, and Doha is a 250. And the Sarnath Open that I'm talking about, that's going to be a 500 event. And then we'll have another 250 event next week too, which we haven't created yet, but it'll be.
so basically there's a tournament like every week. Or
Yeah,
almost.
a lot of times we have like 2 tournaments in a week, or they're overlapping. The tournaments tend to go 2 weeks for these, and then 4 weeks for the Grand Slams. But it's in reality is we can't always get everybody to get their matches done on time. So sometimes the tournaments are going to maybe spill over a little bit and go. But the good thing, we changed the rules and we let people play in multiple tournaments at the same time. So that sort of makes it okay, that not as big a deal if the tournaments don't quite finish on time, because people can play in multiple at the same time, which I'm happy to say people are doing. You guys are all, I think, in tournaments in more than one tournament at a time, aren't you? I think.
Yeah, I'm in 3 tournaments at the same time. I just got eliminated from the Grand Australian Open, so 2 tournaments for me.
And just to be clear, that the system is based on like a best 18, so you're always welcome to play as many tournaments as you want. If you want to play in, if you want to play in like 100 tournaments, then yeah, go for it. But you're only going to be able to take your best 18 results for your ranking, and the top players, like the top 11 players, have to get 12 of their best 18 from these Masters series, which are 9 of them, and the 4 Grand Slams. Which it's good because it forces the top players to play each other in the same tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the time you don't
Okay.
want to just have like animation going over here and task force over here. You want them to like play in the same events, right? That's what people want to see, the best players, you know, going up against each other. So that system kind of forces the players to do that, the top players at least. So not me. I'm not forced to do anything. I can
I
just play
do want to
all
talk
the little
about.
ones I want.
I do want to talk about keto because it's very different because all the tournaments are instant start, and keto is Renaissance start. Do we have a the draw, the seed, the tournament seed already?
No, me and myself and Apollomaster are gonna do we're gonna close the signups at like 6, I think 9 p.m. Eastern, and then Apollomaster and I will we'll make the draw for Keto, and we actually have enough. Happy to say we have enough people signing up that we're actually gonna create another 250 event. It'll be the same settings, but we'll have to come up with a new name. I'm just naming them after all the actual men's pro tennis tournaments, just because it's like a tennis kind of system. So I know the MysteriousX isn't a big fan of that, but that's how I roll.
I like
Your
tennis.
baby.
My grandma liked tennis as well, right?
Hey, Lou, it's your baby, Dan.
Well, we talked about a lot. We talked a lot about the EDCP, but there's many more things going on in CPL. Really, I thought we should still give a shout out to the Clash of the Titans game, which was hosted by KC. How did it end up finally? Like, do you remember, MysteriousX?
It was Tom Brader won as Yulu.
Oh wow, okay. So and there was like basically all the civilizations we ban all the time. There was Scythia, there was Sumeria, there was Australia. Very fun game.
Persia.
Yeah, yeah, and there was also like a few Iron Man recently. Iron Man is basically we play up to a victory condition. So those were very long games. Well, actually ended up not being too long, but generally they are quite long game and quite hyped as well. So we got like a lot of FFA action and like lots of teamers also being played in CPL all the time. And
we do have an announcement, right? Of the next CCC is going to be in early June, right?
Yeah, next CCC will be like 1st, 3rd of June, if I'm not mistaken. And those kind of games will be played there. So there's always that one Iron Man free-for-all, which is the main event, or maybe not the main event, but one of the main events of the weekend. But we also have duels and team games in the CCC. So basically you see all those clans around slowly getting ready because the summer is now getting close, right? You see snow is melting outside. You have like more people enjoying the sun.
And what are you guys doing for? You guys are I think right now the most active clan, TDF. What do you guys? What's the next thing you guys are doing?
We are usually plan them around the Monday or Tuesday, little areas, but so we're not exactly sure. But I think what we're gonna do this weekend is to pull the clan, see what we want to do.
Yeah, we try to do a 3-week rotation in TDF, have a 1-week free-for-all, 1-week team game, 1-week duels, but like TDF is not the only clan in CPL really. Like you have also like KC, which did host the Clash of the Titans.
And Sunzi,
yeah. Sunzi is an amazing training clan, so we're taking a lot of new players in and helping them like, understand the civilization system, the mechanics. And there's also like this very like selective clan, maybe one of our most elite clan around.
They're like the New York Yankees. The Sun Z is like the New York Yankees of clans. Like they're massive, and they have tons of funding behind them. I think they got a bunch of millionaires that are like training them. I don't know what's going on, but they seem to have a lot of they have tons of players. That's what I know.
Yep, and like
kind of like the elite, but it's very selective.
Yeah, OP is the one that's
selective,
you can't. Yeah, it's selected. They have to like invite you.
But those are only the known ones because there's actually a few more. There's like the CivFR clan, which basically will be a French team for the tournament. And there's even some people talking about doing a Russian team because we have now a lot of Russians on the server. So there might be a Russian team also for the championship. So you can see really like so much action happening in CPL right nowadays. And that's why we think that the esports scene is emerging slowly.
Slowly but surely.
Like, what's your favorite clan, King Louis?
GDF. Sorry, what?
No. You don't have to
I
say
don't, I don't
TDF.
I don't really have a favorite clan. I'm not in any clans anymore. But I don't really have a favorite one. But it's good. It's good for the CPL. People seem to like the clans are pretty popular.
His
But I,
favorite
I
clan
wouldn't
is
say I have a
ADCP.
favorite one.
But okay,
Some
what?
people might say that ADCP is my clan.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just
almost.
gonna say.
But what's a clan actually? Like, what does it mean to be in a clan in CPL? Like, what does it involve?
Well, it's more like if anything, it's more of a group of players that want to play together, get better together, get to know each other, and to play in tournaments. That's mainly the main part of it. But also just to play and have fun together. Learn from each other, learn from your mistakes, from other people. They're better than you. Just you don't have to be necessarily the best to be part of a team. There's not really like a time selective thing like you have to play on this thing. It's not like um, an esport team or kind of like that. Can be in certain tournaments. It's not like a timely thing that you have to do every single day kind of thing.
Is it true? There's a rumor that did you actually create a religion called Hee Haw Horsey Sauce in your match versus Automation? Is that true? Is that really happened?
I think yes. Yes, I did.
Just want to confirm that because I hear rumors.
I also
Yeah.
did it in the 4v4 teamer that we had with Auguthy.
So you have your two main religions are Hee Haw Horsey Sauce and Yummy Tapeworm.
That's correct.
Me and Auguthy are Jamba followers.
Yeah, forever, Jamba.
I don't
And
see the
always
point in
the
Jamba.
butterfly.
It's like,
Always use the butterfly. If you're going to be
I,
Jamba, he's the butterfly god of chill.
I don't understand Jamba because like your butterfly just gets squashed, you know, with tapeworm.
No, it flies.
I'm
It's a
like,
free.
he
It's a
horse.
chill. It's a chill animal. It's a chill insect. It just kind of flies around. It's like butterflies chill, man. They're just chilling.
All right. Um,
Well,
let's talk about a little about
yeah.
CivPlayer.
Yeah, you want to talk about single player?
You can.
Well, I wanted to make a link basically because Civilization 6 has been designed as a single player game, but there's been so many players switching to multiplayer lately, and well, especially with the expansion coming out like already a month ago, like even more than a month now, that I think it's worth to notice that there's so many efforts right now to make it a very enjoyable multiplayer experience. And like I've noticed, like there's also Discord servers which have single players talking to each other, talking about strategies, and this is what CPL tries to do as well. And there's so many things basically that single players could enjoy in the multiplayer scene. So I just wanted to point out like some things like we have some game settings we put up, we try to balance things out. We have a balance mod being worked on right now to balance some of the numbers of the game, but it's still on work in progress. And we also use a mod that basically allows each civilization to spawn within a reasonable distance and with a similar or like correct land that they can play the game, right? Which we call the starting location mod or the better balance map mod, for
Yeah,
example.
Waza did that. He's also trying to make and I know Canuck maybe a month or so ago posted this simultaneous 4-second delay mod, and Waza has been messing with it. And we practiced it with him. He got it to work. It only works right now on dynamic timer, but it does. It basically every turn it loads in, it counts down to 4 seconds. So it really should minimize the first moves problem that we have if we can get that one working on
Yeah.
a regular turn timer.
What's that first move issue like? What does it mean?
Well, first moving in general is having the advantage. If you're the host, you're closer to the host, you have a better connection to the host than the person that you're warring with. It's basically you can move your unit faster. You can promote your unit before it dies. You can attack a unit to kill a unit that's low, etc. to get your advantage over the player. And you get this advantage by having better connection to the host or being the host yourself. The host yourself has, since you're hosting, you have the advantage already.
Yeah, it's the biggest problem in a large free for all, right, or a large teamer, and I mean it's still going to be an issue a little bit in duels, but I think less so, right, because it's not as much. You only have two people trying to connect, so
And we
but it
try to
still can
alternate
be an
as well.
issue in duels a little bit too.
But then again, we try to alternate the host, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, in the ADCP, we will alternate the host. But yeah, I think that 4 second to get that one working on a regular timer or get people to play dynamic timer, you could use it right now. I mean, I'll try doing it a match with a dynamic timer and see how
I
it
mean,
goes.
I'm gonna say the demo timer takes so long. I'm just gonna say from personal experience.
This one. I don't know if it's somehow special one loaded with this mod, but I was doing it. It starts off really fast, actually. I think it was starting off like 25 seconds or something.
Especially in teamers as well, because if you put that in teamers, then every person has to take their turn at a time. Not one team can take their turn, and then the next team. Player 1 could take the turn, player 2 takes the turn, player 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
No, we're talking about the dynamic turn timer. So like
Oh
basically,
no, I know that.
Not the one that switches to the. That's actually called
okay,
turn. It's confusing. I get confused too. That's turn mode. You can switch it to alternating turn hybrid turn mode where it'll when you're at war it goes to non-simultaneous. But that's not. We're talking about that dynamic turn timer. You're talking about turn mode, I think.
Yeah, I am.
It's confusing.
well, yeah, but that we used to not use the dynamic turn timer because it was scaling way too much. So after like you would gain maybe 5 seconds per city or 10 seconds per city and 10 seconds per unit. So like when you would reach turn 40, you would get basically like 4 or 5 minutes to play your turn.
Minutes,
Yeah, this one might be. This one maybe is a better. I don't know if it's somehow with the mod he altered because this one starts out really fast. I think the regular dynamic turn timer doesn't start out. This one was like 25 seconds for the first turn, which that's pretty fast.
Yeah, this mod tries to basically just change the numbers, right? So instead of getting like 5 seconds, for example, per city, you'd get only 1 second. Wow. And they try to make it as close as the multiplayer experience we want to do in CPL. So
and we will do just like how chess has some people that play speed chess. I think I'll at least try to get one tournament where we have like a very fast turn timer in Civ and see how people like that. Just as
I think there's demand for it, but at the same time, Civ is also like a slow-paced game by default, right? So many players like to play a long game, and right now we play on online speed all the time, but many players just play on standard speed, generally speaking, when you play single player. So it's already quick for them when they get here.
Yeah, I even think we should do a tournament or two with a bunch of AIs just to mix it up and try all the different ways to play Civ.
Well, we definitely have room for everything, really. Like we do like all kinds of stuff, and we try to find solutions really for basically to have different game lengths because free for all, as we were saying, sometimes can be very long, 4 or 5. There's been some free for alls that have been long, going for like 8 or 9 hours, sometimes very rarely. So we try to find all those like the turn timers, like solutions basically like turn timers, then dynamic turn timer, or even some later start eras sometimes when like you're saying in like the Renaissance start for the duel. So we're making a lot of effort right now.
Yeah, we just try to try different settings, and the good thing is we don't unlike in actual pro tennis we're not making anybody play tournaments if they don't you can only play when you want to play, and that's you get incentive to play more because it will help your ranking, but you don't have to play as much as you want.
But that's the same thing with everything in CPL, really, right? Like if you don't play very often, you play once a month or once every 2 months. Wow, you still enjoy the amazing game here, and not everybody is playing only for rankings either, right? So but if you play more often, maybe your ranking is gonna go up. So like we have a My League, which basically like records all the games. We have like amazing game reporters. A big shout out to everybody for their work there as well. And it's pretty well organized. And the ADCP is one of those things that we really, really value a lot around CPL.
Yeah, it's just a different. Yeah, the My League uses like I don't even understand all the system, but it uses like a ELO system based on who you beat and who you lose to.
It's not exactly a ELO system, but it's like similar.
The skill rating one, not the regular ranking, does factor in how the skill rating is based on like who you lose to and who you beat, right? The rank of the ADCP is, it doesn't matter who you lose to or who you beat. It's only all that matters is what the level of tournament you're playing in and how far you go. That's all. It doesn't actually care who you lose to or who you beat. It's just how well you do in the tournaments is all that matters, and the tier of the tournament that you're playing in. So it is different in that sense.
Yeah, different from what we do, because generally, like if you play, for example, a free for all here, you would get, let's say you win, and you win against that very strong player, then you'll have a huge raise on skill, your skill rating. But if you are a high skill player and you lose to that very low skill player, you'll lose a lot of skills. So it's a different dynamic when you get in the ADCP.
And we do have like a lot of these. What I encourage, we have a lot of these little. We have the most actually of these little 250, our lowest tier. But those are good because the way the system works, as I was explaining, that the top players really shouldn't want to play that many of the 250 events. So that's a chance for people that, to use, I don't know a better word to use, people like me that suck at the game can, play in these little tournaments and still have a chance to win because people like to win things.
Right. It's you don't want to lose all the time.
Yeah. I'm just replying to Rip Panda publicly. I think because he's one of our viewers right now, there has been some work done on the turn timer, dynamic turn timer mod, but it's still a work in progress as well. So like, if there's any modders around that want to help for all those things, we always have open arms. Really, we're a bunch of volunteers here. We're a bunch of like gamers, I guess, who like to play Civilization. So if you have a better balanced mod, or if you have an attempt of a turn timer mod, like always, like feel free to shout it out, and we'll have a look.
Yeah, Rip does a lot of work. Yeah, he does, but yeah, he could always use help. So if yeah, he does a lot of work on the bots, and
Yeah.
and he's working on the CPL mod. So yeah, he could always use some help because he's only one. He's not a god. He's just a man like everybody else.
Yeah, we do have bots in CPL. Like right now I'm putting some on the screen, for example. Like it's basically just a small command we do on Discord. We type .vote, and then we tag all the players in the game, and it allows you to basically choose the settings, and it basically allows you to prepare the game quickly and vote on some rules. Like we often ban like Defender of the Fate, for example. We often ban some wonders like with the Padano or Venetian Arsenal, right? And why do you
But not in the ADCP though. We only ban Defender of Fate. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we ban. So everything goes. So people like that. If you're building wonders you never get to build or whatever, then you can do that.
But
also those two new, I think is that also a new one? The one where you can link somebody to the Discord, or has that already been? I just didn't notice that before. Is that a new bot?
That's another work in progress. It hasn't been put yet. But if
my favorite new bot thing is the coin flip because we need that in the ADCP. We also need to do coin flips now. So there is a coin flip bot now, which is I really love that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that hard to make either.
Well, there's already one. If you just put the exclamation point coin flip, it'll flip a coin for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's my favorite new bot command. That's coin flip one.
Yeah. But
I wasn't saying that to actually make it in the future. I meant like it probably wasn't that hard to make.
No, it was probably easy, right? But there's like we use a third program to help our Discord, but all of those things like really make all the game process much easier, generally speaking. But why do you think we ban settings generally in a free-for-all like MysteriousX? Like, why do we choose certain stuff? Like, are they unbalanced, or like, what does the community like to do?
Obviously, in free-for-all, an exception for a few hosts, people vote on the settings, but some things are just considered too OP. Like, for example, Rome with their monuments, they get Magnus, they get their governors way faster, especially with legions, with the strength of melee units now, stuff like that. Defender of the Faith, for example, you can, as Russia or Japan or civs that have bonuses to holy sites, get their holy sites faster, can rush it faster, and so it's based on the draft. So you would have +10 in your territory, which is about a whole era up. The horses become knights of just about, and it's pretty rough.
And the legions in Rome can chop too, right?
Yes, they can chop horse.
So you get like double chopping power, and chopping it with Magnus is so like powerful. Yeah, so that's pretty crazy.
Legions chopping out other legions.
Yeah. Well, Magnus, like we're now like realizing how strong he is with the Rise and Fall, right? And slowly we get every player that like has now an idea of what's happening. Like they understand that like, oh, this mechanic is very strong, and that's like
right.
If you go back a few weeks,
like sometimes it's good. Like you think always a default Magnus is your first one, but there's cases where it's good to not like a Monty might like if there's a CS that you really want to have as your
Yeah.
Suze, that sometimes it's better to have a Monty is your first one to come out.
Yeah.
That is true.
Even sometimes Victor if you're being attacked.
Yeah, but like as we like understand, there's more and more players understanding all those mechanics, and the level of play really, really raised in the last few weeks. Like if you compare games like today to games a month ago, now players know what's happening and players know what to do, or at least have a rough idea. So
Yeah, it's
like
still very new. It's still that's why we at the moment like we do mirror in the ADCP, so we don't have to worry about OP civs at the moment. Because we still don't know. I mean, there's 9 new civs. I don't think we could say after a month that we know the 9 civs
that is true.
that
That
well
is true.
yet.
Well, this being said, like since there's so many good players around, and there's so many hype for the duels, like so far in the CPL, there was also some talking about doing some commentary match as well. So starting to comment some very hyped duels, so like the finals, for example, of the Grand Slam, or any basically duel that would be willing to share with the world like what they're doing as an esports scene.
Yeah, I think Sarnas was saying he can, and so if he could do it, I'm sure other people could do it
Yeah.
if they had the capability. He said he could scream 2 people each individually streaming their match, and he could put it together and commentate on that.
Yeah. Well, that there is some work in progress right now.
Because the currently the problem with the spectator mod is it doesn't you can't have barbarians, right? Because I think he was saying Sarnas was saying like the observer sees everything, so the barbarians don't have anywhere to spawn because they have to be spawning when there's no vision, right?
And you also lose the first meets because the observer gets all the first meet on the city states, which can be a crucial part of your strategy, like if you play a certain civilization. But Sarnith has already been doing that for a while, and he's still doing that. Quite each week, I believe, at least a few times per month. But I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, he
at least
streamed
one.
Iron Man, didn't he?
Yeah,
I
he
think he
streamed
streamed the Iron Man.
Yeah, he's our main
And he's always
streamer
big on
year-round.
streaming. He's big on streaming the CCC matches and.
Yep. Well, so we're hoping. So if you're listening and you want your match to be casted, always feel free to message like Sarnith, message us at the podcast or some other players maybe, or even like some players from the admin team. And we might be starting a new web series. So we'll see how much interest we got. This is just a shout out. If you want to get your match casted, contact us as soon as you can.
Yeah, I want to be like the whatever they call the person that I think they call it the color commentator, not the guy that broadcasts, but the guy that just makes little comments and stuff. Because I don't know the game as well as like the top guy, so I don't think I should be the analysis person, but I can just.
It's not only about analysis, like sometimes you just want to watch and see like how that pro player or that strong player does, like how did it execute the strategy, why did he chose that, right? And that's how players learn also. Like we have so many streamers around, and many people just watch the streams, or even if they don't watch, like have a quick look at say at this turn that should be relatively your night timing if you want to survive, or this turn you should get calf.
I'll be the guy that goes off on tangents and talks about how I like RB stuff like that.
And what will be MysteriousX? What will he be?
What I go on a tangent about?
Right. If you would be the commentator, like what would you do?
I'd probably say I don't know, backdoor missionary around convert religiously.
Yeah. Well,
you did use Crusader. That's not banned, so people. Yeah, that's a good. Could be a powerful tactic in duels. The Crusader, if it's done correctly.
You have to do it correctly.
It's not banned, so people should keep that in mind.
Because you have to move your units adjacent to the city real fast and then to convert, or else they'll just be condemned.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's not nearly as it's not. I don't think it's OP like the Defender of Faith, because you still have to convert the other guy's cities.
Right, it's not as OP as Defender of the Faith for sure.
Like Crusader of Fate, basically you can tank strength if you attack. So if your enemy has your religion.
Well, no, you get it's when if
No,
you convert
it's
another guy's
yeah,
cities to
it's
your religion,
defensive.
you get +10 in
Okay.
the radius around that
Yeah,
city,
it's
basically. I think.
not just attack; it's defense too.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, your strength, your military strength is
Military
+10.
is +10. Strong.
Well, there's also lots of other stuff happening in CPL. We have a newsletter as well being published every week. And we have basically a very strong team, happy to get any suggestions. So if you have anything you want to be uh, talked about in the podcast, always feel free to message a moderator or just write in our podcast channel. We have a podcast channel in the CPL. And if you have any suggestion about anything really, the staff in the CPL is always open to change things around because we have talked about like some civilizations are not as strong as before, right? And we should maybe remove them from the bot or like we're always looking at ways to improve the multiplayer experience around.
Yeah, we should say that we did open up the new ADCP room. So now
That is
there's like
true.
a rules, a schedule, upcoming tournaments, ongoing tournaments, chat suggestions, and the rankings, little sub rooms. So yeah, come and check that out if you have any. If you want to know more about the ADCP, it's all.
And there's all the
And
tournament rules over there.
or if you're just bored and you want to chat with me about horsey sauce, you can come in the ADCP chat. I'll chat with you.
So I guess your job will be to keep all those rankings live for a while.
Yeah, I think what I said in there is that every Monday I'll post like the rankings just based on how what people have accomplished so far. So if you've won one or two matches in a tournament, that'll be factored in. The points that you've earned up in that tournament will be factored in the rankings. It'll be live as to when I post it. So yeah, if you're winning a match as I'm posting it, yeah, that's not going to be in there. I don't have the ability to just know everything that's happening in the ADCP at all times. I
So we
try,
basically
but
have to report. We said like, oh, I won the match against this player, and then you report it there.
yeah, I mean, I monitor it, so I usually get it pretty fast, yeah, because everything does get reported in ranked games, just like any other game does. So I do check pretty often. Like you were
Well,
just you were just yourself, Auguthy, just playing some ADCP.
yeah,
You did take a match from Automation, so that was
I did.
impressive. He has not lost too much. He's only lost 2 sets in the entire tournament so far, and so
Was
you
it
were
a
one
win
of those
streak?
players, and then the MysteriousX was the other one
Yeah, we're the two players, I guess, who managed to get the
that
game
took
out
a
of it.
set off him.
But he
Task
still
Force
won.
Fish has not lost. He's still far undefeated. He hasn't lost any sets yet.
That is true, but I think Task Force
And
Fist is really I think he's the favorite right now in tournament, even though like Automation is in the tournament and there's a few other very good players. Task Force Fish is known to be a very strong player, if not one of the strongest in the CPL. And considering that in CPL we have a very high level skill, well, we have new players, but we also have very experienced players around, and the fact that he's undefeated in tournament really says a lot because
if you're like, we should mention that if you're like me and you suck at Civ, that Task Force Fish has a
you're not
guide
that
out.
bad.
He has a guide out on that you can get on Kindle that he's put a lot of work into, and I think he's just recently updated it for the Rise and Fall. So that's a good guide to purchase on Amazon. It's got a lot. I think it's got a bunch of good reviews from players in the CPL already that have purchased it. So definitely check that out.
But we have so much help and advice as well. We have a section for that and strategies chat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have the in the CPL. We have the advice channel and the suggestions and bunch of we have tons of channels in the CPL.
Lots of channels.
Maybe
Yeah.
a little too much, huh? So if you were to start a game, let's say you joined CPL today, what would you go through before you play a game? Maybe in MysteriousX.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm a new guy. I'm a single player. I always played single player. What would I need to do to play a game here and enjoy like our amazing structure?
Let's say before I would play it, I would watch a Twitch stream from the better players to actually get to see how it is and how people balance things. Because I know in single player, at least on lower difficulties around King and Emperor, they don't usually aggressive, but on Mortal and Deity for sure, they are very aggressive. So,
Yeah, it's a pretty rough environment, right? Everybody's playing
yeah, it
always
really
aggressive all the time.
not necessarily. You can still be friends with people if they're trustworthy. But
I know what I would do, but that's just me. I would go and find the best player and say, like, I don't care if you're the best player, let's rock and roll. And I'd start using all my Top Gun and Days of Thunder references I could, and that's how I would do it. But that's just me.
That's what I tried to do, and then I lost like so many games. Right? It can be like at the beginning, like it can be fun. It's a whole new experience, but it can be pretty tough sometimes as well.
I really can't.
I'm so used to losing now. I would say like I'm like Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. I've lost so many times that I don't think I exist anymore.
Oh, it's so
still
sad. Well, I mean, it's already been an hour we've been talking. I don't know if you realized.
Jeez.
So, well, before we end the podcast, was there like any subject you really wanted to cover, or anything you had in mind, or small comment to finish it up?
I think we pretty well.
I'd like to talk about Arby's, but I'll wait for the next podcast to talk about Arby's.
Exactly.
We can save that for like a teaser for the next podcast. Talk about like horsey sauce.
And since I'm going back to the fact that Starnet isn't hosting this podcast, right? What's going to happen with the podcast in the future? Do we have a plan already set up for that?
I think we're just, I don't think it's, I mean, I get to try to get MysteriousX to come back some more, and I think Task Force Fish wants to be part of it. And I know Apollomaster, he didn't have a mic this week, but he wants to be part of it. So yeah, we'll definitely, we don't have like a exact structure, but I know there's people that want to be part of it, and so we're just kind of take it week by week and see what happens.
It's basically a community project, huh? We take whoever wants to be in the podcast, organize stuff, create subjects, topics, and then we talk about it.
Yeah, I gotta have definitely somebody do it with me. Otherwise, it's just gonna be me talking about Arby's by myself, and that might not be best for the viewers. I mean, I'll enjoy it, but
yeah, you'll talk about Arby's and religious victories, and like that's it, right? That's gonna be your
somebody has to tether me to reality.
Well, I think we're going to end this podcast right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, MysteriousX.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, King Louis. And I hope you had a good time.
Thanks for helping us out, Auguthy. I know you're not necessarily going to be here on a weekly basis, but we appreciate you coming in here this week.
Yeah, I'll try to be here when I can, but I cannot guarantee I'll be here every week either. But it's definitely a very fun experience to do. And I invite, if you ever want to be on the podcast, even if you're not even if you're just a regular player, it doesn't really matter, really. We're talking about civilization, CPL, like many things, and often we really value everybody's input. So if you're interested to be in the podcast, write a message and podcast suggestions or to King Louis or basically anybody you think would be in the next podcast, and you'll be probably invited in.
Or if you work at Arby's and you want to come on the podcast and just talk about Arby's, you can do that
Arby's,
too.
man.
Yeah, Arby's. So yeah, that is the end. Thank you for watching the 25th podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for coming on, everybody. Thanks for listening.